Most monsters follow a pattern. Bigfoot looks like a giant ape. The chupacabra has claws and fangs. The Mothman has scary wings. But there is one creature so strange that even experts can't figure it out. This thing has no teeth, no claws, no glowing red eyes, just two very long legs holding up what looks like a white sheet. It moves in a way that seems smart, but not human. It walks across yards and forests like it owns the place. This is the story of the Fresno Nightcrawlers. They might be the weirdest creatures ever caught on camera. Fresno sits in the middle of California. It's farm country. Miles and miles of crops stretch in every direction. The people here work hard. They mind their own business. It's not the kind of place where people make up ghost stories for attention. Jose Hernandez lived in a quiet neighborhood in Fresno. He had been there for 15 years. Jose worked construction. He took care of his family. He kept his yard neat and his house secure. In 2007, break-ins were happening all over the area. Jose decided to put up security cameras. Nothing fancy. Just basic cameras that would catch anyone trying to steal from his property. Every morning, Jose would check his cameras. He wanted to make sure nothing weird happened during the night. The 13th of December, 2007 started like any other day. Jose sat down with his coffee and turned on his computer. The timestamp showed 1:23 a.m. That's when Jose saw something that changed his life forever. A white figure walked across his front yard. At first, Jose thought it was a person in a long white dress or robe, but something was wrong with the way it moved. The thing glided across the grass. It didn't walk like a human. Its legs seemed way too long to be normal. The white fabric or skin went all the way down to the ground. Jose couldn't see any arms, head, or body. Just a tall white shape on impossibly long legs. Behind the first creature, a smaller one followed. It moved the same weird way. Both figures crossed Jose's yard like they belonged there. They never looked at the camera. They never seemed to notice they were being watched. After about 40 seconds, both creatures disappeared into the darkness. Jose called his wife over to the computer. "Look at this," he said. "What do you think this is?" His wife watched the video. Her eyes got wide. She had no idea what they were looking at. Jose's teenage daughter came to see what was happening. She watched the footage 3 times. "Dad, that's really creepy," she said. "What are those things?" Jose's first thought was that his camera was broken. Old security cameras sometimes show weird things when the lighting is bad. But the more he watched, the more real it looked. The creatures had shadows. They moved around a tree in the yard without walking through it. They seemed to know where they were going. Jose showed the video to his friend Miguel, who worked with computers and cameras. Miguel studied the footage for hours. He looked for signs that someone had faked it. He checked the lighting and the shadows. Everything looked real. "I don't think this is fake," Miguel told Jose. "I've never seen anything like it." Word spread through the neighborhood. People came over to Jose's house to see the video. Some thought it was a joke. Others got scared and left. But everyone agreed they had never seen creatures like these before. Someone convinced Jose to put the video on YouTube. In early 2008, the footage went online with the title Fresno Nightcrawler. Within days, thousands of people had watched it. The video was different from other monster footage. Most fake videos try too hard to be scary. They show creatures with big teeth or claws. The Nightcrawlers weren't trying to frighten anyone. They just walked across the yard like they were going somewhere important. Dr. Benjamin Radford studies fake paranormal videos for a living. He watched the Fresno footage several times. He couldn't prove it was fake, but he also couldn't prove it was real. "The timing is suspicious," Dr. Radford said. "The creatures appear right when the camera can see them best. That's convenient for a hoax." But other experts disagreed. "Most fake monster videos copy things from movies," said paranormal researcher Dr. Lisa Martinez. "These creatures don't look like anything from popular culture. If someone made them up, where did the idea come from?" The creatures were so weird that making fake versions would be really hard. Their legs were too long. Their movement was too smooth. Even professional movie makers would have trouble creating something like this. In 2010, a TV show called Fact or Faked decided to investigate the Fresno video. The show's team tried to recreate the footage using puppets, costumes, and computer effects. They brought in puppet experts. They hired costume designers. They even tried using computer graphics to make fake creatures that looked like the Nightcrawlers. Nothing worked. The puppet attempts looked clumsy and fake. The costumes couldn't move smoothly enough. The computer graphics didn't match the grainy quality of the original video. "We tried everything we could think of," said investigator Austin Porter. "We just couldn't make anything that looked as good as the original footage." The TV team also interviewed Jose and his family. They asked tough questions. They looked for signs that Jose was lying. They couldn't find any. Jose stuck to his story. He seemed genuinely confused about what he had filmed. His family backed him up. They all acted like people who had seen something they couldn't explain. The TV show ended without solving the mystery. They couldn't prove the video was real, but they also couldn't prove it was fake. The Nightcrawlers remained a puzzle. 3 years later, something happened that made the mystery even bigger. In March 2011, Park Ranger Maria Santos was checking wildlife cameras in Yosemite National Park. These cameras take pictures of animals for research. They help scientists keep track of bears, deer, and other wildlife. Maria was looking through hundreds of photos from a camera near the park's eastern edge. Most showed the usual animals: deer drinking from streams, bears looking for food, squirrels running up trees. Then Maria found something that made her stop and stare. The camera had caught 2 tall white figures walking through the forest. They looked exactly like the creatures from Jose's video in Fresno. Same long legs, same white color, same strange way of moving. The forest setting made the creatures easier to see. They stood out against the dark trees and shadows. The camera caught them walking around fallen logs and under low branches. They seemed to know exactly where they were going. Maria showed the footage to other park rangers. Nobody could identify the creatures. They weren't bears walking on their back legs. They weren't people in costumes. They weren't any known animal. "I've worked in these mountains for 20 years, said Ranger Tom Williams. "I've never seen anything like this." The park kept the footage secret at first. They wanted to study it before releasing it to the public, but word leaked out. Soon the video was all over the internet. The Yosemite footage was clearer than Jose's original video. It showed the creatures were very tall, maybe 7 or 8 feet. They moved through the forest without making any noise that the camera picked up. They never got tangled in branches or stumbled over rocks. Wildlife expert Dr. Rebecca Morrison studied the Yosemite video. She had spent her career identifying animals from camera trap footage. These creatures didn't match anything in her experience. "The way they move is unlike any animal I know, Doctor," Morrison said. "Their legs are too long for their body. Their color is wrong for forest camouflage. They don't behave like any creature I've studied." Now there were 2 videos from different places and different times. Both showed the same type of strange creatures. This made the mystery much more interesting to researchers. Some people thought the videos proved the creatures were real. Others thought someone was playing an elaborate joke. The debate got heated online and at paranormal conferences. The Native American connection made things even more mysterious. The Yokuts people lived in California's Central Valley for thousands of years. Their territory included the areas where both sightings happened. They had stories about tall, pale spirits that walked the land. Robert Gonzalez grew up hearing these old stories from his grandmother. His family descended from the Yokuts tribe. When he saw Jose's video, the stories came flooding back. "My grandmother told me about the tall, pale ones," Robert said. "They were not evil spirits. They were messengers. They appeared when big changes were coming." According to Yokuts legends, the pale spirits had legs that could stretch to incredible lengths. They could walk across vast distances without getting tired. They moved silently through the world, visible only to those who were meant to see them. The spirits supposedly communicated through dreams instead of words. They would visit people in their sleep and share knowledge about the weather, animals, and the future. These stories were hundreds of years old. They existed long before security cameras or YouTube videos. The similarity between ancient legends and modern footage was striking. Skeptics said this was just coincidence. People who know the old stories might unconsciously include those details in a hoax, said debunker James Mitchell. The human brain loves to find connections even when they don't really exist. But Jose Hernandez had never heard of Yokuts legends when he first saw the creatures. He didn't know about tall, pale spirits or ancient prophecies. He just thought he had caught some weird trespassers on his security camera. The connection to tribal stories only came up later, when researchers started digging into the area's history. This made the correlation seem more genuine to believers. Dr. Todd Prescott spent years studying both videos. He focused on how the creatures moved and whether their body shape could exist in nature. As a cryptozoologist, he had investigated many claims of unknown animals. The Nightcrawlers were unlike anything he had encountered. From a biological standpoint, their proportions are extreme, but not impossible. Dr. Prescott explained, some birds have very long legs compared to their body size, but the combination of traits these creatures display is highly unusual. The creature's white color puzzled Dr. Prescott. Most nocturnal animals are dark to help them hide. White animals usually live in snowy places or use bright colors to warn predators they're dangerous. The Nightcrawler's bright white appearance didn't make sense for creatures trying to avoid detection. Their movement pattern was another mystery. The smooth, gliding motion suggested a form of locomotion that didn't match any known animal. It was too controlled to be natural, but too fluid to be mechanical. Dr. Prescott couldn't find any similar creatures in the fossil record. He couldn't identify any evolutionary pressure that would produce such extreme proportions. The Nightcrawlers seemed to exist outside normal biological categories. The mystery went worldwide in 2016. A homeowner in rural Poland found strange footage on his security system. The video showed tall white creatures walking across his property. They looked just like the American Nightcrawlers. The Polish sighting happened in the Podlaskie region. This was an area of deep forests and traditional farms. The homeowner, Janusz Kowalski, had never heard of the American videos when he found the creatures on his camera. I thought maybe they were people playing a joke, Janusz said through a translator. But who would dress up like this? And how would they move so strangely? European cryptozoologist Dr. Stanislaw Nowak looked at the Polish footage. He found both similarities and differences compared to the American videos. The Polish creatures appeared slightly smaller and moved with a different rhythm. If this is a hoax inspired by the American videos, it's remarkably sophisticated, Dr. Nowak said. The creator would need detailed knowledge of the original footage and considerable skill to replicate it. The international sightings raised new questions. Were Nightcrawlers a worldwide phenomenon? Did similar creatures exist in different countries? Or was this proof that hoaxers around the world were copying the original videos? Researchers began looking for similar creatures in folklore from other cultures. They found scattered reports of tall, pale beings in various traditions, but nothing as specific as the Yokuts legends. As the years passed, various theories emerged to explain the Nightcrawlers. Some people thought they were aliens. The creatures' behavior seemed too intelligent for animals, but too strange for humans. Their indifference to human presence might indicate advanced technology that made them undetectable when they chose to be. They move through our world like we're not even there, said UFO researcher Dr. Patricia Hayes. That suggests a level of technological superiority that's hard to imagine. Other theorists proposed the creatures came from parallel dimensions. Maybe they were visitors from a world where evolution took a different path. Their sporadic appearances could represent temporary breaks between realities. What if there are multiple versions of Earth? Asked theoretical physicist Dr. Michael Ross. The Nightcrawlers might be slipping through from a dimension where such creatures evolved naturally. More conventional explanations focused on unknown species that had avoided scientific discovery. Deep cave systems and remote wilderness areas could potentially hide creatures that rarely interacted with humans. Biologist Dr. Sarah Hernandez suggested the creatures might be highly specialized animals adapted to specific environments. "We're still discovering new species all the time," she said. "It's possible these creatures have simply avoided detection until now." Hoax theories remained popular among skeptics. Advanced puppetry techniques and sophisticated costume design could potentially create convincing footage that would fool casual observers. "Modern special effects make it possible to create very realistic fake footage," said video analyst Dr. Kevin Roberts. "The real question is whether someone would invest the time and money needed to pull off such an elaborate deception." The psychological appeal of the Nightcrawlers attracted academic attention. Unlike most monster reports, these creatures weren't threatening or aggressive. They seemed content to ignore human presence entirely. Dr. Jennifer Walsh studied why certain paranormal phenomena captured public imagination more effectively than others. The Nightcrawlers possessed an ideal combination of mystery and non-threatening behavior. They're strange enough to be genuinely mysterious, but not scary enough to trigger fear responses, Dr. Walsh explained. This makes them fascinating rather than frightening to most people. The creatures also benefited from high-quality video evidence. Unlike historical monster reports that relied on eyewitness testimony, the Nightcrawler footage provided consistent reference points for analysis and comparison. However, digital technology also made sophisticated hoaxes increasingly possible. Software tools that were once limited to professional studios became available to amateur creators. This made it harder to distinguish authentic footage from skillful fakes. The technological arms race between documentation and fabrication reflected broader challenges in modern paranormal research. As tools for creating fake evidence became more advanced, researchers needed increasingly sophisticated methods to verify authenticity. New developments in artificial intelligence offered fresh approaches to analyzing the footage. Machine learning algorithms could detect patterns and anomalies that human observers might miss. Some AI analyses suggested the creatures' movement patterns were consistent with organic locomotion. The subtle variations in their gait and the way they responded to terrain changes seemed to indicate genuine biological processes rather than mechanical puppetry. Other AI studies identified irregularities that could suggest digital manipulation, compression artifacts, lighting inconsistencies, and motion blur patterns raised questions about the footage's authenticity. The competing analyses reflected the fundamental challenge of cryptozoology research. Even with advanced technology, distinguishing between genuine phenomena and sophisticated hoaxes remained problematic. Additional sightings continued to trickle in from various locations. Most were brief glimpses or unclear footage that added little to the overall mystery. None matched the quality or clarity of the original Fresno and Yosemite videos. A hiking group in Oregon reported seeing tall, white figures in the Cascade Mountains in 2018. Their cell phone footage was too shaky and distant to provide useful details. Security cameras in suburban neighborhoods occasionally captured what appeared to be similar creatures, but the quality was usually too poor for definitive identification. These additional reports either supported the reality of the Nightcrawlers or demonstrated the power of internet culture to inspire copycat sightings and hoaxes. The creatures' influence on popular culture grew steadily. They appeared in video games, horror movies, and urban legend collections. Their unique appearance and mysterious behavior made them popular subjects for artists and writers. Unlike more famous cryptids like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, the Nightcrawlers maintained their mysterious status without becoming commercialized cartoon characters. Their alien appearance resisted the typical process by which monsters become familiar through repeated exposure. The ongoing mystery attracted new generations of researchers and enthusiasts. Young cryptozoologists found the Nightcrawlers appealing because they represented a relatively recent phenomenon with high-quality documentation. Previous generations had to rely on fuzzy photographs and questionable eyewitness reports, said student researcher Amy Martinez. We have actual video footage to analyze. That makes the investigation much more scientific. The creatures also benefited from their association with modern technology. Security cameras and trail cameras provided objective documentation that seemed more reliable than human testimony. However, the same technology that preserved the evidence also made sophisticated fabrication increasingly accessible. This created a paradox where better documentation tools also enabled better hoaxes. The Nightcrawlers represented this technological paradox perfectly. Their footage was clear enough to be compelling but ambiguous enough to remain mysterious. They existed in the sweet spot between proof and uncertainty that kept investigators interested. Recent developments in motion capture technology and biomechanical analysis offered new tools for studying the creature's movement patterns. Researchers could now analyze the footage at the level of individual muscle contractions and joint movements. These detailed analyses revealed subtle aspects of the creature's locomotion that weren't visible to casual observers. The way their legs coordinated, the distribution of weight during movement, and the smooth transitions between steps all provided clues about their nature. Some biomechanical studies suggested the creatures moved in ways that would be extremely difficult for humans to replicate, even with extensive training and specialized equipment. The consistency of their gait across different terrain types indicated either remarkable biological adaptation or sophisticated artificial control systems. Other studies identified movement patterns that seemed suspiciously perfect, lacking the minor variations and corrections that characterize natural biological motion. This mathematical precision in their locomotion raised questions about whether the creatures were organic beings or sophisticated mechanisms. The debate over the creature's nature continued to evolve as new analytical tools became available. Each technological advancement promised to solve the mystery, but ultimately added new layers of complexity to an already puzzling phenomenon. The technological investigation took another significant leap forward in 2021, when quantum physicist Dr. Amanda Foster became intrigued by the Nightcrawler mystery. Dr. Foster had been working on theories about parallel dimensions and quantum mechanics when she encountered the creature footage online. From a quantum perspective, the Nightcrawlers exhibit properties that could be consistent with dimensional phase shifts. Dr. Foster explained in terms that few people fully understood. Their ability to appear and disappear without leaving physical traces suggests they might exist partially outside our normal space-time continuum. Dr. Foster's theories were highly speculative, but they offered a potential explanation for the creature's mysterious behavior. If the Nightcrawlers existed primarily in a parallel dimension, their appearances in our reality might represent brief intersections between dimensional planes. Think of it like shadows on a wall, Dr. Foster said, using a simpler analogy. We see the shadow, but the object casting it exists in three-dimensional space beyond the wall. The Nightcrawlers might be three-dimensional beings casting four-dimensional shadows into our reality. This dimensional theory could explain why the creatures seemed indifferent to human presence. If they existed primarily in a parallel reality, they might be barely aware of our dimension's inhabitants. The theory also accounted for the creature's apparent ability to move through solid objects and disappear without trace. Objects that seemed solid in our dimension might be permeable to beings operating partially outside normal space-time. Dr. Foster's work attracted attention from other theoretical physicists interested in the practical implications of parallel dimension theory. The Nightcrawlers represented a potential real-world example of phenomena that had previously existed only in mathematical equations. However, testing dimensional theories required equipment and resources that were currently beyond the reach of cryptozoology researchers. The work remained highly theoretical, adding intellectual interest to the mystery without providing definitive answers. The interdisciplinary nature of Nightcrawler research continued to grow as experts from various fields contributed their perspectives. Linguists analyzed the creatures' names across different cultures. Psychologists studied the witnesses' responses. Artists and designers examined the aesthetic aspects of the creature's appearance. Dr. Maria Gonzalez, a cultural linguist, found interesting patterns in how different languages described tall, pale beings. Many cultures used words that emphasized height, paleness, and otherworldly movement. The consistency of linguistic descriptions across unrelated language families suggested deep-rooted human recognition of such entities. Language often preserves memories of encounters with unusual phenomena, Dr. Gonzalez explained. The fact that so many cultures have specific words for tall, pale beings suggests these encounters have been significant enough to warrant dedicated vocabulary. The linguistic evidence supported the idea that Nightcrawler-type creatures had been observed by humans for thousands of years. Modern sightings might represent continuation of an ancient phenomenon rather than entirely new occurrences. Art historians also found relevant connections in their research. Dr. James Park studied medieval and Renaissance artwork for depictions of unusual beings. He discovered several paintings and sculptures that showed tall, pale figures with elongated proportions similar to modern Nightcrawler descriptions. Medieval artists often included symbolic representations of spiritual beings in their work. Dr. Park noted, "Some of these figures bear striking resemblances to contemporary Nightcrawler reports." The artistic evidence was suggestive rather than definitive, but it added another layer to the cultural and historical context surrounding the phenomenon. If the creatures had been observed throughout human history, their sudden appearance on security cameras might not be so surprising after all. The psychological studies of Nightcrawler witnesses revealed more interesting patterns. Dr. Lisa Thompson studied how people think and process information. She found that people who reported seeing the creatures often scored higher on tests measuring openness to new experiences and intuitive thinking. Nightcrawler witnesses tend to be more receptive to unusual phenomena in general, Dr. Thompson observed. This could mean they're more likely to notice subtle anomalies that others might overlook. Or it could indicate a psychological predisposition to interpret ambiguous stimuli as paranormal. The personality correlation didn't prove or disprove the creature's existence, but it provided insight into why some people had encounters while others didn't. Environmental sensitivity, perceptual acuity, and psychological openness might all play roles in determining who saw the Nightcrawlers. Dr. Thompson's research also revealed that witness reports remained remarkably consistent over time. People interviewed years after their initial sightings maintained the same descriptions and emotional responses. This consistency suggested that the experiences were meaningful and memorable rather than fantasies or false memories. False memories tend to change and elaborate over time, Dr. Thompson explained. Genuine experiences remain stable in memory. The consistency of Nightcrawler reports over extended periods suggests they represent authentic perceptions, even if we don't understand what was actually perceived. The stability of witness accounts impressed even skeptical researchers. Whether the people saw real creatures, unknown phenomena, or compelling illusions, their experiences clearly had profound psychological impact that created lasting memories. As the mystery entered its second decade, new generations of researchers brought fresh perspectives and advanced technologies to the investigation. College students studying cryptozoology, computer science, and media forensics chose Nightcrawler analysis as thesis topics. Graduate student Jennifer Adams spent 2 years developing machine learning algorithms specifically designed to detect signs of digital manipulation in cryptid videos. Her software analyzed thousands of hoax videos to learn the telltale signs of fake footage. When Adams applied her detection algorithms to the Nightcrawler videos, the results were inconclusive. The software identified some anomalies that could indicate digital manipulation, but it also found organic patterns that suggested authentic footage. The videos exist in a gray area where current technology can't provide definitive answers, Adams concluded. They're either extremely sophisticated hoaxes or genuine documentation of unknown phenomena. We simply don't have tools precise enough to make that determination yet. Adams' work represented the cutting edge of video forensics applied to paranormal investigation. Her inconclusive findings highlighted the fundamental challenge facing cryptozoology research in the digital age. The ongoing mystery attracted attention from documentary filmmakers and television producers seeking compelling paranormal content. Several major productions featured Nightcrawler investigations, bringing the creatures to wider public attention. However, media coverage was a double-edged sword for serious researchers. Popular interest generated funding and resources for investigation, but it also attracted hoaxers seeking attention and fame. Distinguishing between genuine phenomena and media-inspired fakes became increasingly difficult. The commercialization of the mystery worried some researchers who feared that genuine scientific investigation would be overwhelmed by entertainment-focused content. Maintaining rigorous standards while engaging public interest required careful balance. Despite these challenges, the main mystery remained as interesting as ever. The original Fresno and Yosemite footage continued to resist clear explanation. New analysis techniques revealed more details without solving the basic questions about the creature's nature and origin. The Nightcrawlers' legacy lay not in clear proof of their existence, but in their demonstration that mystery could survive in the digital age. In an era of instant information and constant connectivity, they kept their mysterious status through a combination of compelling evidence and ongoing uncertainty. Whether the creatures represented unknown beings, elaborate hoaxes, or something else entirely, they had secured their place in modern folklore as America's most unusual cryptid. Their tall white forms continued to glide through the imagination of anyone who had witnessed their strange, otherworldly movement across darkened landscapes. The mystery continued, as did the questions that made it interesting. In the vast catalogue of unexplained phenomena, the Nightcrawlers remained unique. They defied easy classification with their simple presence and alien grace. They walked through our world as if it belonged to them. They seemed indifferent to human concerns and scientific study. Their purpose remained as mysterious as their origin. They appeared when they chose to appear and vanished without explanation. The footage captured them in moments of transition. They were passing through familiar spaces on their way to unknown destinations. They left no tracks, no physical evidence, no clear sign of where they came from or where they were going. Their silent passage through human territory suggested a form of intelligence that operated according to rules we didn't understand. They moved with purpose but showed no interest in human contact or communication. The Nightcrawlers challenged our assumptions about what unknown creatures should look like and how they should behave. They weren't monsters from our nightmares or heroes from our fantasies. They were something else entirely. Something that didn't fit into the categories we use to organize our understanding of the world. Their strangeness was deep precisely because it was so simple. 2 long legs, a flowing white form, movement that suggested intelligence beyond our understanding, nothing more, nothing less. In their simplicity lay their power to fascinate and puzzle. They represented the possibility that the world still contained mysteries that couldn't be solved with normal tools or explanations. The Nightcrawlers reminded us that despite our technological advances and scientific knowledge, we still lived in a universe full of questions without easy answers. They walked among us as living riddles, challenging us to expand our understanding of what was possible. Their journey continued, taking them across landscapes both familiar and strange. They left behind only brief glimpses and endless speculation. The mystery of their nature remained as deep as ever. It was a testament to the lasting power of the unknown to capture human imagination. What do you think about these mysterious beings? Have you ever seen something that couldn't be explained? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more stories from the edge of the known world.